Bees.
Yo, what's up, YouTube? This is your boy Junior, aka Smoking Guns, out here in Tucson, Arizona, representing the Ultimate Fight Club, giving you the latest content in boxing and MMA news that is out. So, today's video, we're coming out with another one, and this is the return of Keith Thurman, okay? And we are coming out with this video is because he's been on a bunch of different media outlets, a bunch of different channels. He had that big media workout call yesterday, and everybody has been talking about it. It's been very viral with all the different topics and subjects that he was talking about. And he's been in a bunch of different interviews, and I'm going to be going over those interviews right now, where one of those interviews where he was talking about how he wants Manny Pacquiao. And he said that he's 90% sure Mayweather will be fighting him. And it goes on to state in this interview where it says Keith Thurman would welcome an opportunity to fight Manny Pacquiao later this year. The WBA Super World Welterweight Champion is fairly certain, though, that Floyd Mayweather Jr. will come out of retirement for a lucrative rematch with the Filipino legend. Thurman estimated on a conference call Tuesday that he is 90% sure Mayweather will end a third retirement to fight Pacquiao again. It also goes on to state later on in the article where he says, Floyd's silent talk is really him saying, give me a statement, not a question, of $150 million up front, whatever the numbers may be, Thurman explained. It just needs to be pleasing to the ears before Floyd will consider it. But it's really hard for any human being to not take $100 million or greater for a 36-minute performance. I believe if Floyd were to make half of what he did against Pacquiao the first time, it's still worth it. It's still worth it, man. They're both past their primes, and Floyd is just a very slick boxer. Even though he does throw one punch at a time, similar to what Adrian Broner did, he just does it way more effectively. He has better defense, better movement throughout the ring, with the ring awareness. And it also goes on to state later in the article, he beat him once. I think he would beat him twice, Thurman said. You know, and I think Manny Pacquiao would be able to retire happily after such a paycheck. So that's why I say the likelihood, in my opinion, is 90%. Of course, I would love to be wrong because that would open up doors for me. Hopefully, it would open up doors for me to negotiate with the legend, Manny Pacquiao. But we'll see. There's tons of opportunities at 147. So regardless, I still have a beautiful job, quote. Now, after he stated that, you know, it'd be really cool to see that matchup happen, just for the simple fact is Manny Pacquiao, he is the WBA regular, so technically he would be in line to fight Keith Thurman. But would I want to see Manny Pacquiao take that fight? Hell no, man. If he wants to be able to end his career off with a bang, dude, he would get his ass banged the hell out if he ends up fighting Keith Thurman, dude. If he ends up fighting Keith Thurman, dude, Keith Thurman will friggin' knock his damn block off, dog. And it would end pretty bad for Manny Pacquiao in that fight, I think. And don't get me wrong, Manny Pacquiao, he's still a good fighter, but in that fight with Adrian Broner, he showed his age in that fight. And I do not think that he is ready to be able to deal with those monsters that are in that 147-pound division, dude. Those are a bunch of killers up there. And if he wants to fight those dudes, I do not think any of those fights would end good for Manny Pacquiao. But for Keith Thurman, I know he would definitely take that matchup because I know he knows what the outcome is going to be, and he would definitely get a good-ass paycheck because a fight like that would definitely be on pay-per-view, and I know that he would love to get a payday like that. And not only did Keith Thurman call out Manny Pacquiao, but he also came out in an interview stating, I'm definitely interested in a unification with Errol Spence. And in this interview, it states, I'm definitely interested in the big unification fight with Errol Spence Jr. When I first met Errol at MGM Grand years ago, I told him that it's nice to meet him, and I can't wait to get in there and scrap it out. I'm humble, but I'm also honest. I'm a man of my word. It doesn't matter how many years ago that I said it, but from that day to this day, it's a true statement, Thurman said. Now, with him coming out in this interview saying that he wants to be able to unify with Errol Spence, the only thing that I do not like about this is he doesn't really give a specific time on when he wants to unify with Errol Spence. But the one thing that he did state is that when he does unify with Errol Spence, how he said it needs to be for 3 belts and not just the 2 belts, the WBA and the IBF, which Errol Spence holds. So you already know that Keith Thurman is very vocal about fighting Shawn Porter for that WBC belt. And Shawn Porter has also been very vocal about fighting Keith Thurman for that WBA belt so they can unify. So whenever they do unify those belts, hopefully whoever the winner is will be able to unify with Errol Spence Jr. because Terrence Crawford, it seems like he's kind of being left out at the moment with these three dudes being on PBC. It seems like that these dudes are trying to get that work, or at least Errol Spence is trying to get that work with Keith Thurman or Shawn Porter in that damn division since they are all on PBC. Now, with that being said, the only thing I'm not really so sure about, even if Keith Thurman does get that WBC belt from Shawn Porter, how likely is it that he will fight Errol Spence? Because Errol Spence has been very vocal about how Keith Thurman is scared to fight his ass and how he's ducking. And even at the PBC press conference, when they announced the PBC on Fox, Errol Spence was very vocal about stating, dude, as soon as I come to get that belt, you are going to end up injured. You're going to find a way to be injured. And Keith Thurman started laughing about it, stating, oh, you trying to put some kind of mojo on me, man. You trying to put some kind of voodoo on me, man. I need to go get across, joking around and stuff like that. But I know Errol Spence was dead serious when he was stating, dude, as soon as I come for that belt, you will find a way to get injured and you're going to duck me. And the reason I'm stating that is because Keith Thurman also came out in another interview where he admits past hand injury will require more monitoring. And in this interview, he goes on to state about his injury where he said, after elbow surgery, I kept pressing my doctor to give me a turnaround date. Thurman noted during a media conference call of the lengthy physical rehabilitation process. I was like, how long, doc, how long? He was pretty clever with his wording. He never gave a real date in all the words he used. It was like 6 months after the surgery and it still wasn't healed. So then it was more like 10 to 12 months. I spent a lot of time with my new wife. I was surrounded by her family and was able to cope with that. He later goes on in the article where he states, when I was able to get back in the ring and suffered another injury to my left hand, I was like, this is not fun. I wish someone could tell me when I would be back. Thurman admitted of a hand injury suffered by his estimation around this time last year. It was just very frustrating for me. I just wanted to have a fight date. I wanted to be able to get back in the ring. The doctors told me I wouldn't be out forever. It just felt like forever for me. I feel like this is a real comeback fight for myself. JOSESITO Lopez is moving up. He has a new trainer. He has new talents, a great deal of confidence. Quote. And it states later in the article where he says, the hand is a little bit. The doctor told me it may need monitoring throughout my whole career, Thurman noted, of his left hand, although while making clear that it's to a point where he can confidently enter the ring. Fighters go through that. Even if we do little things like monitor it, I will stay positive. There are many ways to get to the finish line in a championship fight. I didn't knock out Shawn. I didn't knock out Danny. At the end of the day, I'm always going to stay confident. Quote. Now, with him saying this, it already seems like he's making a big note to everybody that's out there, to all the fans, to all the media, that his hand still isn't 100%. And he said that it's still a probability that something may occur with his hand. And with that being said, it's a very high possibility that he might not end up fighting Errol Spence Jr. because, like Errol Spence Jr. said, as soon as he comes for that belt, Keith Thurman may find a way to be injured again and may not fight Errol Spence. So, will Keith Thurman use that hand injury as a way to avoid Errol Spence? But the one thing that I do like is the charisma of Keith Thurman. The one thing that I like about Keith Thurman, not just that he's a technically sound fighter, very powerful, very slick, very good movement. Dude, he's a great boxer in that ring. But he brings a great deal of personality to that 147-pound division. He's very outspoken, very brash, and he has a very great deal of intelligence, especially when it comes into the ring and when it comes to analyzing boxing. So he's going to be a very fun dude to have back in that division, and I'm very glad to have him back and see him back in that division. But the one thing that I hope that we do not see is him ducking or avoiding Errol Spence and using that hand as an excuse to be able to duck him, because if that hand isn't 100%, he can always use that injury as a way to not get in that ring with Errol Spence, or hoping that Errol Spence will end up losing that belt so he can be able to fight whoever else wins that belt from Errol Spence, and then he can potentially end up fighting them to try to unify that division. But it'll be hard enough for him to be able to unify the division fighting a guy like Sean Porter, because if you ever heard any of my earlier videos, I actually had Sean Porter beating Keith Thurman in that fight. But Keith Thurman, he was able to get that decision out, and he really deserved that win, just for the simple fact is he had to dig really deep to be able to stay in there with Sean Porter, because that was a rough ass fight he had with Sean Porter, and either one of those dudes could have easily took that damn decision. But I guess only time is going to tell what's going to happen with Keith Thurman, but I'm definitely glad to see him back in this division. And hopefully we see the same Keith Thurman from a couple of years ago this Saturday night when he fights JOSESITO Lopez on Fox. All right. So I hope you guys like the video. If you guys like the video, make sure to hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you guys have any kind of questions, any kind of comments, hit me up in the comment section. I'll be sure to hit you guys up. All right. So I hope you like the video. Holla at your boy.